This meeting is being held electronically as per section 19.1 of the town's procedure bylaw number 6228-19 as amended due to the COVID-19 situation. So can I please have a motion to approve the agenda as circulated by Legislative Services, Michael, Mayor? Any questions or comments on the agenda? None? Okay, call the vote. Okay, that passes. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? None. Okay, so may I please have a motion to receive the meeting minutes of April 13th, 2021? Okay, Michael, the Mayor. Questions or comments on the minutes? Okay, call the vote. It passes. Okay, so there's no delegations. Okay, so there's no delegations, so we'll go to item 6.1, financial management, 2022 budget engagement strategy. May I have a mover to put the item on the floor? Michael. Okay, the Mayor. Rachel, did you want to speak on this item?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm going to ask Mr. Gartner to speak on this item as his report, and he is here.
Okay. Jason?
Hey, through you, Mr. Chair. So we have been working with our communications partners to come up with a 2022 budget strategy for how we're going to engage our stakeholders on our 2022 budget. So what you have before you is our proposed strategy for how we're going to do that. So if the big highlight of the strategy is it's obviously heavy virtual. So if you have any questions in regards to our proposed strategy, I'm available, as well as Cindy Shaver from our corporate communications team, to answer your questions.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, Michael.
Thank you. Through you to Mr. Gardner, Jason. Certainly, I like what's in front of us. It's very comprehensive in terms of, you look at the attachment and all of the avenues that we're going to try. I think that, we're looking to do essentially everything to engage and try and get as many people as possible. I wasn't clear when it comes to the objectives and goals, 1, 2, and 3. You threw a metric in there, and I just want to understand better what it means. So for example, objective 1, you wanted to get at least a 75% positive response. Objective 2, at least 50% to be measured by virtual attendance. So could you just speak to those 3 objectives and the numbers that are there, and what do they mean in real values?
Jason?
What a 75% positive response means, or 50% virtual attendance.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if Cindy could speak to that, that'd be appreciated.
Cindy?
Yes, sorry, just took me a second to find mine. Hi, good evening, everyone. Through you, Mr. Chair, Councillor Thompson, the communications best practices and sort of where we're moving towards in our communications department is to outline our communications objective with SMART metrics. So to have definable outcomes that we're looking to achieve, that we can actually have a benchmark and then judge to see how effective we've actually been with what we've been doing. And so in terms of these specific metrics, they thought they are basically what we thought were reasonable, and I think still sort of progressive and still sort of far-reaching, but not so far that that we don't think that they're unattainable. And so, for example, I'm just going to pull up the strategy so I can speak to it directly. To create public awareness and understanding about the municipal budget, resulting in at least a 75% positive response to being appropriate appropriately informed. So right now, I think that this will be a survey that goes out afterwards, and objective number 3 also speaks to that same survey and is looking for that same sort of response, is to say that 3/4 of the people who are targeted in those surveys, who respond to those surveys, are feeling like they are being informed and aware about what's happening with the budget. Those are things that we can control. So when we're looking at having those metrics, we're looking at stuff that we can control and stuff that we can sort of have a sort of a strategy behind in order to be able to meet those needs. And then objective 2, 50%. Right now, I don't believe last year, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe that there were any members of the public that actually spoke at the initial consultation meeting. So for example, that 50% is looking at that and hoping to get a few more people that actually want to come out and delegate, for example, that are going to be at the YEC. There's a youth component that we're looking at. So there's a variety of things, and that is just looking to sort of double what we've done in the past.
And so I guess, that's what I'm trying to understand what the bar is. So let's take objective 2. If you say that we didn't really have any participation, well, 50% of 0 is still 0. I mean, what is the goal or the number?
So sorry, so that was with the 1, but for example, the survey that we did last year, the pre-budget consultation survey, I believe there were 40 responses. So we're looking to be a little bit more aggressive in doubling that. And we have a number of items on our list, on our calendar that speak to that sort of are trying to get the word out a little bit more, encourage people to be involved. We've got a gift card that is also being offered for people who are participating in the survey. So there's a few different strategies that we're using in order to up that. Obviously the delegation is just one, and one that comes to mind that I think I would love to see be much higher.
I very much like the objectives. For me, I'm just trying to get a sense of what the target is for what success looks like when we reach those numbers. And that's why I want to just sort of get some clarity around it. But, I think it's great. We're always looking for benchmarks and metrics by which to gauge the success of initiatives like this. So good. And like I said, overall, I think it's great that we're just trying to do as much as we can, including a few little new things like mobile signs and so forth, to try and generate as much feedback as possible. So great. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom, did you have anything? No. For you to Ms. Van Kessel, or it could be Cindy again. In terms of, it was interesting that you mentioned that we would like to reach out to media and to staff, give them a tutorial on the budgeting process, because they're our greatest ambassadors, especially staff. In terms of media, what does that look like? Would you put Brock Weir and other reporters in the region into a Zoom meeting and just kind of give them a tutorial as to how budgeting works, and given their mandate, which is for potentially readership, is it beneficial to give tutorial to them? I can't see anything negative, but what was staff's thinking in terms of reaching out to media?
So I actually think that this question would be best answered by Eliza. What we're just a brief sort of back end is just that Eliza has used this practice with much success in the past, and so it was one of her recommendations. I think she'd be best to speak to that.
Eliza?
Thank you, and through you, Chair, and thank you, Cindy. Yes, as Cindy mentioned, this is something that she and I talked about when she was putting together the communications and engagement strategy for the budget. The intent behind this is really just to provide some education to media members about what the municipal budget really is about, because as you mentioned, Councillor Kim, they are really kind of our link to a readership and to the general population. and they reach a different population than what we can reach as the town as an organization. So the intent is really to get them on depending on obviously the pandemic situation in whatever format this works, but to bring them together to kind of tell them a little bit about what the budget entails, how it works, what the different numbers are. This would be under an embargo, for instance, working with Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel's group. And then just allowing them a space to be able to ask questions that they might not feel comfortable asking in a different venue or in a different format. So it's a bit of a more individualized approach to media members to be able to build that relationship of trust and confidence, to give them the tools to be able to clearly explain to readership what is happening as part of the municipal budget, and that way extending the building of trust and confidence to the community as well.
Thank you. Another comment or question I had was in terms of an additional suggestion for communication. We always get, questions about even within amongst the council members. We have a, small, medium, or large project, and finance, talks about using our debenture or a loan facility, and it brings a red flag in some members' minds, and especially in the public, that debt is bad. But that's the way that municipalities work, because we don't save up $50,000 all at once and then buy a new car. We have to finance it. It's all about cash flow and our DC schedules and all that. And through you to Ms. Van Kessel, is it possible that through communication that we can kind of educate our residents that that debt is a regular part of how we do business, because we don't save up $20 million to get a project going, but as soon as we talk about debt financing, it raises huge alarms because people just don't understand that. So is it possible that we can put that as part of an educational piece with communications?
To you, Mr. Chair, one of the areas that this will actually be a bit more highlighted is in the fiscal strategy that we discussed last month and is coming to committee next month on June 1st. And there is a big piece in there about how we balance the different financial needs and how debt as a financing tool can be used to help support a municipality in our endeavors to do certain capital projects, and when it can be most appropriately used. So I know Eliza and I have had a number of conversations, and we're looking forward to actually putting out some social media posts and other media stories relating to the fiscal strategy once it does go through and gets approved by council, to help support showing how we are using these tools wisely, and we're trying to use it for the long-term betterment of the town.
Great, thank you. And along the same lines, my last comment would be on this item that, Councillor Thompson mentioned it last night, and we've all known that there's been a lot of bringing down, or what's the word that I use all the time? The province and the federal government have passed down a lot of the former costs over the last couple of decades, and we're always kind of playing catch up. And is there any way that we could communicate that to the town, the residents, that we're doing this because we're playing catch up? People always, the common questions we all get every year is, well, I pay $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 on property taxes, and I'm not getting my money's worth. But a lot of that is because over the last several decades, a lot of things have been passed down to the municipalities, and we're playing catch up all the time, and we'll never catch up. Is there something that we can do to inform residents that the current situation of all municipalities, and so we can have that? It's not going to eliminate that question, but hopefully diminish the frequency of those types of questions.
To you, Mr. Chair. So as we go through with the budget and we do a lot of the work associated with the asset management plan, and then also on the reserve planning and forecasting moving forward, that is going to give us an idea of what that funding gap is from what we're able to bring in as into reserves now versus what we need over the long term. And that's part of the story, is how can upper tiers of government help assist us with some projects and support some of these infrastructure gaps. And for different communities, this gap is bigger in some areas than others. I think from Aurora's perspective, because we are a growing community, we do have some time to actually set a good course, but at the same time, we need to be seeking out grants. And part of that grants is getting funding support from the federal and provincial governments.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, then I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay. Next item, 6.2. Rachel or Jason, did you want to speak on 6.2?
To you, Mr. Chair, 6.2 is the major capital projects update. So I'll ask Ms. Jalali, is her report, if she would like to speak to it, if that's all right.
Solly?
Hello, everyone. Sorry. So yeah, this project, this report is about updating the major capital projects that's going on right now at the town. So we have right now we have 5 major projects going on. So the first major project is Library Square. This project is on track. Demolishing and excavation work is underway. For the library section, demolishing work within the library has continued as the west entrance tower and rooftop expansion area continues to be prepared for new installations. The existing rooftop units were removed the first week of March. The library continues to receive heat through the temporary units that has been installed at the east and west elevation of the building. The floor slabs within the library's main lobby and Magna room actually have been replaced after installation of the elevator, sump pit, and structural foundation completion. So outside the library, the retaining wall at the North Library Lane Bay has been poured and stripped. Also, last week, the crane has been installed and the footings and foundations for the bridge has been poured last week. So for the schoolhouse section at the north elevation of the existing schoolhouse, the grade has been brought down to the approximate elevation of the future ground floor of the new cultural center. Also, all the bell overhead lines have been removed from the site in preparation for excavation and foundation works in the new cultural center. The below grade mechanical pit has been installed at the east elevation of the schoolhouse. And this has all happened in the schoolhouse over the last 2 months. From the schedule perspective, we are on track for the total completion of the project by November 2022. And from budget standpoint, we are on budget and we don't anticipate variance from the forecasted cost at this point. The next project is Fire Hall, Station 4 and 5. Overall, this project is progressing well. The final test of settlement monitoring plates has been scheduled to be conducted last week. Upon confirmation of the settlement levels, the pouring of a slab on grade will be commenced, and upon confirmation of the consultant, the rest of the work will be started, like the interior wall construction, servicing, all will be started after that. So far, the project, 34% of the work has been completed. Project is on a schedule for completion in May 2022. The next project is the Joint Operations Center additional work. This project is very close to completion. The JOC, there are just two outstanding sub-projects of JOC landscaping that will be completed in the spring. And by end of the summer, we expect the storage building is being completed. So far, 66% of the project budget has been used, and we anticipate we complete this project under budget. The next project is financial system. This project is about town's core financial system, to replace the town's core financial system with an integrated financial system with multiple functionalities to manage procurement to payment, budget, general ledger, contract, and project management and reporting. This project divided to two phases. The first phase is development of the specification for the new system and includes the RFP development. This phase is underway at this point, and the consultant has been engaged to assist us in gathering the system requirements and developing RFP. It's supposed to complete it by end of Q2 2021. And after that, second phase will be started, which includes the purchasing and implementation of the new system. The go live date is supposed to be in Q2 20, sorry, let me check that. It's Q2 2023. The next project is IT strategic plan implementation. It's basically the technology strategic plan that has been developed over the last few years. And this is the 5-year plan that is supposed to be implemented in 3 phases. The first phase of this project is about revamping the technology management model and establish a collaborative environment. In this regard, the IT management team has initiated their series of meetings with the business units to better understand the current and future technology needs and create a more collaborative partnership. The IT governance committee has been established to guide the corporation toward defining and using appropriate technology. The kickoff, this group, IT Governance Committee, had a kickoff meeting on April 28, and they're supposed to update this, to update PMO and update FAC. The update to the IT strategic plan is supposed to come from the IT Governance Committee moving forward. Phase 2 is about the process digitization and mobilization. It's all about the streamlining of the town's core business processes. In this regard, few projects right now underway, and one of these projects is Human Resource Information System project, HRIS. This project is 76% completed, and we are on target to go live by end of second quarter of 2021. The parallel testing is underway right now, and staff trainings also underway, and we are on track for the completion by the time. The project is also on budget at this point. The second project of this group is the Access Aurora telephony project. This project is final stage of the procurement, and we expect to complete this project by third quarter of 2021. This project is also on budget so far. The third project is Cityview ERP project. This project enables electronic submission of a permit application. The e-permitting software has been launched, and the project team right now is resolving few issues, but they're supposed to be completed by second week of May, which this week or next week. So these are the projects that's happening right now is underway for phase 2. The phase 3 of the technology strategic plan implementation is optimization through data and digital services. This phase will not start until 2022. So there's no update for this phase of the project at this point. It takes me to the end of the report. If you have any question.
Thank you, Ms. Jalali. Any questions or comments? Michael?
Thank you. Just, I guess, great report. Appreciate all the details. But I guess the one question really is, how do we determine what goes on this report? You know, in the past, we've focused primarily on bricks and mortars with regards to, you know, the JOC and the fire hall and, of course, Library Square. But now we've also brought on the financial system and IT. And so I just want to be consistent going forward. Do we have sort of a, I don't know, a framework on what makes it onto this report or not? So that way, you know, if there are any questions why some projects not, we can have a reasonable response.
The last two projects that you mentioned, it's actually added. I think it was it was based on the request from FAC. That request that we add this update for this project is based on the request, the teams of FAC members' request. So, but yeah, for sure, if we should have a framework, if more projects or what type of project should be included in this report.
I just think it would be good to have some sort of framework around what qualifies as a major capital project. So that way it's, you know, it's easy to understand why or why not it's on this report. I certainly like seeing the two of them and getting the details and being well informed. But I just think, you know, if we can just figure out how to classify them, that would be great. Then the second one really is the attachment that we have, which, you know, graphically illustrates where we are with regards to these projects, just has the three bricks and mortar ones. Is there an intent to put on the financial system and the IT as well to that attachment, or is it really just going to be meant for more the construction projects?
Basically, the reason we have just those three projects, at this point, we don't have a project schedule, detailed project schedule for financial system, because we are still at the stage of the developing the requirements. So the project schedule has not been developed. For the IT strategic plan, it's really challenging to put because it includes more than 100 projects. So we are still figuring out how detailed we can provide that information to FAC. So I couldn't put that information in that in the format of the first two projects. Very straightforward. We have the project schedule for that, but we are still working, and hopefully for IT strategic plan, I get some direction from IT governance committee that how they want to present this project to FAC.
Maybe, and just as a suggestion, I think, you know, one of the things that, you know, we've continually, you know, asked about is, you know, is the project on schedule? And I think that's what's important to a certain degree. So perhaps there's certain milestones in both the financial system and in the IT project that we've identified as wanting to accomplish at certain periods. And maybe it's just as simple as saying, you know, here we had, you know, 3 or 4 milestones established, and yes, we're on track to hit those milestones. Because I think, you know, we want to know that the project is progressing you know, in the manner as which we are expecting. At least that's my perspective.
Yeah. So just as a follow-up question, would you like to have this detail in milestone for other project or just financial system? For Library Square Fire Hall, do you want also see some milestones in the attachment, or just financial system?
No, I think we know, at least for myself, you know, I kind of know some of those milestones with regards to the construction projects and the clear end date. And so it's kind of moving that way. Really more for the IT and the financial one, which really are more internal and not necessarily something that I can drive around and see. Like, for example, you know, I went over to Library Square this weekend. I saw the crane up, you know, visually I can see it. I see the fire hall every day being constructed and the progress being there. But the computer systems and the software, really it's behind the scenes. I don't have necessarily exposure to that. So perhaps they're just, and not too much detail, but just certain key milestones to advise us that yes, things are on track.
Sure, thank you.
That's it for me.
Great. Thank you, Michael. For me, for the Library Square project, there were 63 contemplated change notices from RAW and TPP, and there were 13 requests for change orders from Chandra. So given the scale of this project, is that an expected amount of change orders or requests for change orders, or is that something that we should be concerned about?
At this point, we actually raised this question with our consultant and also with the consultants. So the question was, at this point, yeah, it is high, 30%. Actually, we use 30% of our contingency at this point. It's a bit high. However, when we see the breakdown of change orders, 50% of change orders are relevant to the mechanical and architectural of the library renovation. That part is almost done. 40% of change orders are relevant to unforeseen conditions of excavation and groundwork that we are right now above the ground. 40%, actually 10% of change order was related to foundation of a schoolhouse. So it means that we expect that as we are right now above the ground, and the unforeseen issues, we don't anticipate that much changes coming. When we looked at the change orders we received over the month of April, we see the significant drop in the number of change orders coming. However, we are closely monitoring the spending of the contingency. So, and there is a mitigation. There is the mitigation plannings in place to make sure that we are not running over budget for this section.
Okay, thank you. My next question is, in terms of, so far there's a 2-month delay, but we're still on course. And my understanding, I remember our CAO stated at the beginning of the project that there was a soft opening where things will be usable, and then there will be a final grand opening where it's open to the public. It would be September or so, and we'd have we have 2 months to work with. But it seems like we've used up those 2 months. So is it fair to say that we don't have any more of a buffer in terms of timeline? Like we can't afford any more delays? Is that where we're at now, or do we still have a few more weeks of buffer to work with?
So, so you're talking about the total completion or the library section?
The total completion.
Total completion. At this point, apparently it's been the buffer built in schedule. So the consultant is confident that they can complete at that time. However, there are some colliers expect that it's not a delay, but to turn over to a library and to turn over the key. So definitely there are some work around, especially for FF&E. They anticipate it's not a delay, but it takes time between the total completion and soft opening. But we don't expect anything going beyond the November 2022.
Okay, so do we have any more buffer left, or does everything have to be perfect in terms of between now and September, October?
Based on what I see in the schedule, yes, they built a good and healthy buffer in the schedule.
Okay. Do you know what that might be? Is it like another month, or like at what point will we say that this is going to be late?
I don't have that detail, but I can provide that detail if you want, and I can just follow up on that, because I'm not go over the project schedule and that detail, that how much buffer left. But I know that there's a healthy buffer. But if you want to do that detail, I can find it for you.
I see Mr. Nadrasny has come on. Did you have something to add?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just thought I would add that the delays that they're considering right now is based on mostly on the draws that the contractor has made on the overall project. So at the very beginning of the project, they took the total cost of the project and they asked Chandos to speculate over time how much cash they would draw, month by month as an indicator of the progress that they were made. They have underdrawn a bit, and we had a discussion about this at our site meeting last week. And so they do know that they should have spent more according to the plan, but they are confident still that there's lots of time to make up. And since this is really a series of projects, all being done under one project, it's quite possible that you could in other phases of the project actually be doubling up on the expenses, because there could be something more going on in the library than was planned, and something totally separate happening at the other sites, either the plaza or the expansion of the Church Street School. So we have a meeting scheduled for next week after the regular site meeting to review the schedule in more detail and talk about how to make up any gaps that there are.
Okay. Thank you. Lastly, on the fire station, there are 9 change orders totaling $784,000. So that's roughly $90,000 per change order. Can you give me a couple of examples of what those change orders were?
Yeah, I can tell you that 7 out of those 9 change orders, actually it's had a cost impact. The reason you see that high number, because just one change order related to helical piers that has been installed, just that one ticket has a $750,000. So 750 out of that 780 something, it's just related to one change order. So the rest, it's not big ticket items, few $1,000s, but it's basically related to the small things like services, if you want that detail, like services, and some few installations and some few change in the contract, just few couple $1,000s. It's not big. But the biggest one was $750,000 for helical piers that has already completed.
Thank you. Sorry, I had one more question regarding the financial system. So it seems like you guys went through the requirements, and that's one of the the most important part of a project such as this, because you want to know what staff is requiring and needing. Does the consultant offer what the future system needs or add-ons or additions might be? Because we don't know, what the environment will be in the future and what requirements might be needed in the future. So is there a capability of adding to this particular system, or once we do the requirements, is that open and shut and we can't add future optionality to the system?
Can I ask Jason to, or
yeah, I will.
Rachel?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So to you, Mr. Chair. So the consultant that we have working with us is from the Government Finance Officers Association. So they do not actually sell systems. What they do is they work with municipalities across Canada and the US to help them with the development of the system requirements. They also assist with project management and implementation of systems, but they don't actually sell any systems. So they're really looking out for the best interest of the municipality, which is the reason why we have this consultant working with us to make sure that our interests are the ones that are taken care of. As we're looking at systems now, many of the systems now are more of a subscription-based system, so they're cloud-based. So with cloud-based systems, you get better and more timely upgrades because most of that is done for you rather than the typical systems where they're sitting on premise and your IT group has to coordinate and make these changes and we have to test and do things such as that. So as we're looking at things, yes, we're considering to make sure that the systems are more scalable and more adaptable as we move forward. But the thing is, this new system that we're looking at pulling in place is really going to transform the financial systems that we have. Like right now, we spend a lot of time doing data management and very little time actually being able to use that data. So the idea is get that data at our fingertips, and then we can start doing better analysis and automate a number of processes.
Thank you. Any other comments and questions on item 2? No, so I'll call a vote. All in favor? Okay, that passes. Next item is item 6.3. I'd like to speak to that. Rachel?
Yeah. So to you, Mr. Chair, this is a bit more of that in-depth look at the financial system and the progress to date. So as Councillor Thompson mentioned earlier, it's not something you can drive past and see what's happening. So that's why we're providing some more of these updates. And the financial system is a very large transformative change for the town. So it's quite a big project, but it's not one of those physical ones that you can easily see. So this is giving a bit of an update as to the progress we've made so far. Much of the work we have done is in developing the system requirements, and we're working with our consultant on that. We did issue an RFI, so we had 4 vendors come in and do demonstrations on the systems so that it would give us a better understanding of what is actually out there on the marketplace compared to the what we refer to as our antiquated systems that we're working with right now. So it's giving us a bit of insight into what a new system would be capable of. One of the things that we did discover as we went through these RFIs is not all systems have a good tax solution, or they do not have a tax solution at all. So we've also been looking at the tax solution by the city of Mississauga, because they have developed their own system, and other municipalities within York Region have also started using it. So they are providing a service to other municipalities in this way. So that's part of our consideration as we go through. We are still fairly much in the early stages. One of the difficulties we've had is we've been trying to understand how much is this new system going to cost us. And as we reach other municipalities that have implemented systems recently, apparently it's very confidential, the amount that they are paying, and they're not willing to release much information. So we've been hitting a few roadblocks there, and even a municipality that put in an ERP system, if they have a big HRIS component, then that's going to skew things as well and how the pricing is, because HRIS, as you know, we are moving forward with that project now, and that is a lot of work. So not having to do that as part of the ERP is a different situation, but then we are also looking at including a budget piece too. So we still have a number of unknowns. We estimate that once we get into implementation, it's going to take about 12 to 18 months. There may be phases that roll out during that period of time, whether it be the financial part versus the budget piece and other pieces as we go along. But we've still got a few unknowns as we're moving forward, but we're working to get our system requirements finished by the end of this quarter so that we're in a good position to actually move forward with the RFP process.
Thank you, Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel. Any comments or questions? Michael?
Thank you. Through you to Mrs. Wainwright Van Kessel. Rachel, just one quick question. Just in terms of the background, it identified 459,000 estimated cost of staff time dedicated to the project. I just couldn't remember the details around that. Can you just expand and share that with us?
Ms. Van Kessel?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So what that assumes is that we will have at least 2 staff full-time working on the project. So as you know, as part of the budget process, we had included a new senior advisor for financial systems and policy. He actually started this week and has experience in working on systems implementation. So he's got very relevant experience that will help us move forward with that. But we also recognize we're going to need some dedicated project management work. And in addition to that, over the course of the actual project, there's going to be periods where we may need to pull people temporarily out of their jobs, but provide support as we do the implementation. So it's going to be fairly encompassing. This is an assumption of equivalent about a couple of FTEs for 2 years, but we'll be able to refine that better after we go through the ERP process, through the RFP process, and we have a actual system that we're looking at. We understand the schedule and what the overall implementation requirements are on our side versus the consultant side.
Okay, Michael?
So thank you again through you. If I understand it correctly, then so in some of this cost is actually for current town of Aurora staff. But I guess, how do the mechanics then work so that this capital project is then, I guess, paying for part of the regular wages for those individuals? You're sort of, I guess, billing the various departments?
So, Van Kessel?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So as part of the budget, our financial systems, senior advisor for financial systems and policy, for the first 2 years of their work, we were looking at using them exclusively towards work on this type of project. So we were charging their cost to this project. At the end of the day, it's still funded through tax levy because that's the source of the reserve funding from this project. The other piece is we're going to need to bring people in and possibly backfill them while they're working on the project. So to do that, we need to have some salary dollars to be able to accomplish this, so to ensure that we have town staff working on the project at the right time, providing their expertise to ensure that we do this right. So it's part of that process. And then also ensuring that we have a project manager that can be dedicated to this project and make sure that we can implement it the way it needs to be done.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Michael. Tom, do you have any questions? No. Just one quick question, Rachel. In terms of the Mississauga system, has staff had an opportunity to use or take a look at their system, and any initial thoughts?
So to you, Mr. Chair, we did have a demonstration of the system from one of our neighboring municipalities that's currently using it. And they walked us through to show us what's involved. After we get through the HRIS piece at the end of June, one of the things we plan on doing is engaging with Mississauga to understand what the requirements would be, the cost associated with it, and get a bit more of an in-depth demonstration on what this system can do. Because we want to make sure that once we get to the end of the ERP process, if we include the tax portion as a provisional item within our RFP, it gives us the option to consider going with the Mississauga system if it's a system that we get from, if the successful bidder on the RFP does not have a suitable tax system. We want to make sure at the end of the day we have something that is appropriate, and the Mississauga system is built by an Ontario municipality to meet the needs of what our property taxes are, and we all have very similar needs. And I think there's at least 3 municipalities in York Region that are now using this system.
So if we actually use Mississauga system, would they actually have a team of customer service reps and and other advisors to help their clients? I can't envision another municipality being a vendor, but I guess they have a whole team to service.
Yes, so to you, Mr. Chair, they do have a whole team that services the system, and part of the other municipalities using it is they do provide support to them. We would pay fees the way we would pay fees to another system provider, but in this case, it's a municipality and it's not a for-profit enterprise. They are looking to basically recover their costs to be able to keep the system up to date and maintain it and provide the support that municipalities using it need.
Great, thank you. If there's no other further questions, I'll call the vote.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, could we please have a mover and seconder?
Oh, that's right.
Thank you.
Okay, Michael and the mayor. We'll call the vote then. All in favor? That passes. Go on to new business. Michael, any new business? Mr. Mayor? Okay, I have none. So can I have a mover to adjourn? Michael and the mayor. All those in favor? Okay, that passes. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
See you in 25 minutes.
Okay.
Bye.